I am so excited for this last part of my collab with Jonas Snyder, aka Tweetsierailroader. We've got all sorts of stuff we're talking about still, and some incredible things about Tweetsie and other trains, and the Branson Railroad, and some other stuff like that. Well, hold on, you'll get to see. Welcome to part 3. So we are talking with Jonas Snyder, Tweetsierailroader. Really excited because he actually has a common experience with the area here. We've got the Branson Scenic Railway, which just recently got bought out by the same company that he actually used to work for at the Great.
And I'm about to work for again.
So really excited because I know there's people here that are like, what's this mean for our railway? And so I think you'll be able to give some insight here. So you visited Tweetsie a lot. You worked on the Great Smoky Mountain Railway, so you're obviously a rail fan.
Yes, I love trains. I've been obsessed with trains since I was a kid. Yeah, I have loved trains for years. And of course, I grew up with stuff like Thomas the Tank Engine, and of course, all I'm going to see real trains. And Tweetsie was where I got a lot of my train experience. Our family had season passes for years. We went we'd go at least 4 times a year. We'd go for stuff like their Ghost Train event. When I was a little younger, we'd go see Thomas the Tank Engine when he would come to Tweetsie every year. So it became my home park. It was where I would go. It's where our family would go a lot because it was relatively close, about an hour and a half from where I live. It's where I really got my love of trains, and I'd say all the theme parks as well. Tweetsie, they have a set of coal-fired steam engines. And they're beautiful engines. They have locomotive number 12, who just went down for a major overhaul. They had they discovered some issues with it that they're now needing to with the firebox that they need to rectify. So it's going to be down for a while. And she is a 1917 Baldwin, and then 190, who is a 1943 Baldwin.
Never been to Tweetsie. What's there?
Okay, so Tweetsie is a Wild Western theme park. It's on a mountain. There's a train ride, and it's of course within the Wild West. The train is of course with 2 full coal-fired steam engines. Cowboys ride on the train, and of course, and they'll make a couple stops, and they'll do a show for featuring a train robbery, and they swap to be between 2 or 3 different shows every day throughout the day. They'll usually run about 10 times a day, depending on how busy it is. But they have like a replica of Western Town. They have the Tweetsie Palace Saloon, which is a replica of a Western saloon that you would have seen maybe in like Tombstone, Arizona or somewhere. And they do like a can show in there. Rides, many of them dating back to the 50s. Because the guy who owned Tweetsie, Grover Robbins, was originally owner of a theme park called Skyland in Blowing Rock. And a lot of the rides that from there came to Tweetsie for when it became a theme park. Because initially it was not. It was just a little train ride out in the woods. Because the name Tweetsie originates in the area. It was originally the nickname given to the trains of the East Tennessee and Western North Carolina Railroad, or ETWNC, which originally ran between Johnson City, Tennessee, and Boone, North Carolina. Number 12 is the only survivor of the ET. 190 is from Alaska's White Pass Yukon Railroad. And if you've been to Bollywood and you've seen their number 192, Klondike Katie, she is a sister engine. Okay. Dollywood also has another as their number 70, which is also it's an older White Pass Mike. It was built in 38 and is of a different class. So Tweetsie and Dollywood have that connection there because they were originally owned by the same people. And then because Dollywood opened up as a railroad, but Tweetsie also has on the top of Miners Mountain, they have the little mouse mine train, which is super cute. They have a little steam outline train that goes around and goes into America's only cheese mine. Basically, Tweetsie's equivalent of It's a Small World. Okay. They sing a little song in there. A little bunch of Static Mice figures singing a little song like mining gold and silver. It's so cheesy and it's so fun. They got a petting zoo. They've also got they got plenty of really good shows. Tweetsie is definitely, I wouldn't say on the level of say even a regional park like say like a Six Flags or Cedar Fair Park, but it is it is a very charming, very wonderful place to visit. The folks who own it are they work there so much to keep the park going because it is North Carolina's oldest theme park. It opened only 2 years after Disneyland did,
Okay.
and about 2 years to the month actually. Disneyland opened July 17th, 1955. Tweetsie opened July 4th, 1957. So it is historically a very and also its ties to the local area make it a very historically important park and a very important piece of North Carolina tourism.
Yeah. Um, so you fell in love with trains at Tweetsie.
Mhm.
Then you got to move over and you got to work on one.
Correct.
So what did you do on the Polar Express?
I was a character actor on the Polar Express.
Okay.
So, and I will be again. So, depending on what was called, so I was what they called a showbo,
Mhm.
which basically was I would play either the conductor or the hobo, depending on what the night called for.
Okay. So you were a hobo or conductor?
I was depending on what the night was called for,
depending
and
upon what night. And I know at least for Branson, the Polar Express trains, they're full. They sell out.
yes,
early.
they started selling tickets for hours, literally, as soon as all the tickets sold out for the event last year. It was insane.
Yeah, it's
Because
great.
it is GSMR's single most popular event.
So the same company that owns that just recently bought Branson
Correct.
Scenic Railway. So I know people here, because they've had the same family own the train for years. There's a little bit of concern and worry. What are these people going to do? How are they going to change it?
So it's not going to be changed too much, if at all. So the Great Smoky Mountains Railroad is owned by a company called American Heritage Railways.
Mhm.
They also own the Durango and Silverton narrow gauge railroad out in Colorado.
Mhm.
They did basically nothing to operationally the Durango and Silverton in terms of how it was done. So with GSMR, mostly did was a paint job change. And they ended up swapping the departure location from its headquarters of operations from Dillsboro to Bryson City. The Great Smoky Mountains Railroad itself has been into the AHR family since the 90s. They've done a great job with it. I'll say it's a very good place to work. I love the folks I've worked with. They're amazing. You are not going to see any issues, and in fact, I think there's a potential to see things improve, especially with special events. Great Smoky Mountains Railroad hosts a number of really fun events. The Moonshine Experience, which they serve moonshine on the train. They have run an Easter train, not super big, and so because they own a subsidiary company called Rail Events Incorporated, so which is where all those events, for Polar primarily comes from. I don't expect to see any changes with Branson Scenic, but also to be fair, it's too early to tell. The deal just went through and just been
We've
made
heard
public.
that they do things like dinner trains and music trains, which are things that Branson doesn't do right now. So
we have things like onboard entertainment, like on the Great Smoky Mountains, where they have things like onboard entertainment, even on regular excursions, the regular excursions as well. So ultimately, I only see this change as nothing but good for
that's what people are going to want to know. It's like, this is our railway. Is it still going to keep up?
Keep in mind, this is also from my perspective. So
so it was good ownership and everything. So that will reassure a lot of people here. My daughter actually worked with the Polar Express for 3 weeks. It wasn't very long, but just enough to kind of get a feel for it. So we're actually kind of excited about some of that, since they've got experience doing it in other places as well. You've been fascinated with trains. What would be your dream job then?
Actually getting into a cabin working on a steam engine. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but I'm a history major in college.
History majors rock.
And my specific point of interest is historical preservation and, keeping things going, keeping historical machines running. That's part of what I'm really wanting to do with my degree is really, preserving this history for future generations and giving them a chance to see what our past was like and how important it is to preserve it, because I want to encourage young folks to look to have an interest in trains like I did, like I got when I was a kid. I want to give it to a new generation because regardless, the generation that was maintaining a lot of this equipment is dying out. They're getting older. It's becoming a lot of the folks who were there during the steam age are no longer around. So it's up to folks of my generation to keep that going. And that's what I'm looking to do is if I go to work for like what I'm looking to do, go back and work for Disney, I think it would be a good spot to really, work on steam engines and, keep it going and show people like how cool and how important these machines were.
And still are. We may not necessarily run the steam as much, but trains are a huge part of the economy of the country.
Exactly. Freight trains transport a ton of freight. Well,
Yeah.
duh, but like they can transport more freight overland than trucks can, which makes trains ideal for long distance travel too. So there's also the aspect of educating the public on why trains even today are still important. And there's obviously a push to expand railroad systems. And now that there's like a desire for high speed rail, because people are recognizing, yeah, we got that that ring we got rid of back in the 60s. Oh yeah, we need it again.
Yeah. In fact, Springfield, Missouri, Amtrak relisted a group of places of possible expansion, and Springfield was on the list, and everybody here's like, oh, please. Hoping that Amtrak comes back.
It's going to be very difficult, but I think rails can be competitive with air, but that's
there's ways that they can do it. We've loved riding the train when we've had the chance. If we had the ability to do it, we'd go from here to California to visit family on the train, but it ends up trying to sleep in those seats at my age doesn't work real good. And then the private rooms are a little expensive. Love trains, love to see how they're going. But kind of exciting to see how growing up near Tweetsie has led you to more trains and kind of where you're hoping to go.
Yeah. There's a lot to explore in this world. I think in particular, there's a lot of the experience I got from both, GSMR and Disney, looks great on a resume. People are gonna look at that like, ooh, this guy looks like he'd be really good, like a really good asset.
So yeah, thank you so much for all that. Anything else that you'd like to share or comment on?
So I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. You're right now. Disney as a company is definitely not in the greatest place in terms of how it's treating its cast. I think in general, whatever job you do at, especially a public facing job like at Disney or wherever, do it for the guests. Management, especially upper management, is going to only see you as a dot in a piece of paper. The guests, but it's the guests and the people you work with and your immediate managers that are really going to make or break that job.
Yeah.
Like I said, I do what I do for the guests, not for Bobby Iger's bottom line.
If you had options and let's say you got to choose the next Disney CEO, any idea who you'd pick?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think I have a specific name in mind, but I want somebody who would, actually go back and make the company more about and to not be as worried about the bottom dollar, and more about the guest experience and more about, making original movies and such. I think there are some good eggs in Disney company. I think current president of Imagineering, I think seems like he's doing a lot of good. Josh D'Amaro is, I think, hit and miss. I think D'Amaro, for what he's worth, I think he's a very enthusiastic guy. I never got to meet him, unfortunately. He seems like he's trying. I think I wouldn't mind D'Amaro as CEO, but I also wouldn't necessarily be the biggest fan of it.
I feel like he's more of a company bottom line. Whatever the guy above me says, that's what I do. No questions asked.
So potentially we could see things improvement with him in a CEO position, but I think he'd have to really prove himself. I
want to see a dreamer come back in.
Yeah, honestly, honestly, what about I'd love to see one of the surviving members of the Disney family potentially take over if any of them would be interested. I don't think that'll ever happen, but it would be really cool to see one of Walt's relatives step back into the role of Disney CEO and really try and help the company. I think people would be people. I think a lot of people would be on board with that.
I like how you put it. Somebody who remembers to focus on the guest experience. Too many people today don't seem to remember. They're so focused on the bottom line, and they forget that if you focus on the guest experience, the bottom line takes care of itself.
Exactly. I'm not one of those blind Disney adults because I know there are people out there that will be a shill for Disney no matter what. I refuse to be that. I'm a Disney fan, but I am not a shill for the company, and I refuse to be. I am going to continue to be someone who doesn't treat the company that's going to rightfully call the company out when they make dumb decisions. Like, I'm sure you have heard about Half the Rivers of America. I was literally everybody blasted them for that decision, and rightfully so.
Well, and we'll see if they stick with it. I'm hoping they realize, cars could work right over where Indy Speedway is just as well. Or
better yet, making an expansion. Like I said, I remember I mentioned in the live stream, you could totally put like a spot there for it in that little clearing.
Behind Big Thunder, where they said
exactly, and then it'd be a really cool backdrop for the river. Like, I'm hoping they reconsider.
We'll see. I'm kind of right there with you on all of that. They've had so many years of penny pinching, and it's like, guys, you've forgotten the point of the company.
Yep.
The reason Walt built this giant and made so much money wasn't because of penny pinching.
Honestly, I think we need somebody like earlier Eisner. That's that's what this company needs, I think.
Well, thank you so much, Jonah. I appreciate it. It has been fun. We've talked a lot. So.
Oh, you know it. It's been we've been invoked for about over an hour now. Good gravy.
Yeah. So good gravy. Good new ride at Holiday World. Oh, but that's.
Wait, really?
Yeah, really.
Oh, wow.
So, but thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll talk again. So.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
So I hope you've really enjoyed this collab. We've gotten a chance to talk about all sorts of stuff over the course of the 3 parts. Thank you so much, Jonah, for joining me. Had a blast and would love to have you come on again. If you'd like to know more or any other questions, please let me know. I'd love to hear it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know your thoughts, your comments, your suggestions, your ideas. Be sure to share them in the comments below, or you can contact me. There's information in the description that has my email address, fan pages, information about merchandise, and so much more. So be sure to check that out. Don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, and if you haven't already, hit the button right up there to subscribe. And in fact, if you did enjoy this, I've even got another video for you right here. And also about these wonderful people here, those are my YouTube members and my patrons, the ones whose financial support makes this possible. I couldn't do it without them. If you want to know more about that and the perks that come with it, well, be sure to check the description. There's a link right down there. Thank you so incredibly much. God bless.